Okay, so imagine this. You're trying to find the perfect book for a first grader.
Yeah.
It could be your kid, a niece, a nephew.
Right.
And you're just standing there in the bookstore,
Oh, yeah.
staring at a wall of colorful covers.
So many options.
So many options, and you have no idea where to even begin.
It can be overwhelming.
It really can.
Especially when you're trying to see it through a first grader's eyes.
Exactly.
What are they going to connect with?
What's going to grab their attention?
Right.
Luckily, you sent over a couple of articles from Search Synonym about books for this age group.
Yeah.
One is their top picks for reading aloud to first graders, and the other one is about Barnes & Noble ebooks.
Nice.
So we are diving into those today to give you a roadmap for navigating that children's book jungle.
I like it. Consider this your crash course in first grade reading.
Perfect.
What are they into?
So Search Synonym kicks off their top 10 list with a true classic.
Oh, yeah.
Where the wild things are Max and his wild rumpus. I feel like that's a rite of passage for so many kids.
It's a must-read.
But what do you think it is about this book that keeps it relevant for generation after generation?
Well, I think it's fascinating how, on the surface, it seems like this fun adventure, with the monsters.
Right.
But underneath it all, it really captures the emotional world of little kids. Max's anger, the need to escape.
Yeah.
It kind of mirrors what so many first graders actually feel.
That's so true.
And then that return home at the end with dinner waiting.
Oh.
It speaks to that underlying need for security and safety.
It all comes back to home.
Yeah.
I'd never really thought about it like that, but it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of really tapping into childhood emotions, the next book on their list is The Very Hungry Caterpillar.
Oh, another good one.
Those illustrations, the holes in the pages.
I love that.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It seems so perfectly designed for reading aloud.
Absolutely. I think that interactive element is key for that age. You're following the caterpillar along as it's munching its way through everything, keeps those little hands busy, and then that transformation at the end.
Into a butterfly.
It's such a visual and metaphorical treat. It never gets old.
It's funny. I can't even look at green eggs anymore without hearing that Dr. Seuss rhythm in my head.
Oh, I know.
Which brings us to the next pick, Green Eggs and Ham.
Another classic.
Is there something about Dr. Seuss's repetition that just wires itself into a kid's brain?
I think so. It's like a catchy song you can't get out of your head.
Yeah.
That rhythm, that playfulness, it makes it fun to read aloud and easy for kids to remember.
Yeah.
Even if they're just starting to understand the words themselves.
The article also lists a bunch of other great choices.
Oh, yeah.
Brown Bear. Brown Bear. What do you see?
Love that one.
The Snowy Day.
Classic.
I Want My Hat Back.
Oh, that's a good one.
Pete the Cat. I Love My White Shoes.
A favorite.
Chicka chicka boom boom.
I love that one.
Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus.
Oh, so funny.
And Frog and Toad Are Friends.
Ah, classic.
They really cover a lot of ground.
It's a great mix of different styles and themes.
Right?
And what's important to note here is that they specifically recommend these for reading aloud to first graders.
Ah, that's a good point.
It emphasizes that shared experience, that connection between the adult and the child.
That's a great point.
That's what makes it special.
Okay, so now let's switch gears to the Barnes & Noble ebook list.
All right.
This one isn't specifically for first graders, is it?
No, it's a much broader selection.
Okay.
But I think the young adult section is a good place to look for books that might resonate with this age group, even if they aren't reading them independently yet.
Okay, so what jumps out at you from that category?
Well, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas immediately caught my eye.
Yeah.
Now, this one deals with some pretty heavy stuff.
I was just thinking that.
Race, identity, social justice.
Yeah.
Things you wouldn't necessarily read directly to a first grader.
Right.
But it highlights an interesting point.
Okay.
These big societal issues impact kids, even if we don't talk about them directly.
It's like they're just absorbing the world around them.
Exactly.
Whether we realize it or not.
Right.
So maybe it's less about reading that specific book to them.
Yeah.
And more about us as adults being aware of these issues and how we can approach them in age-appropriate ways.
Exactly.
And then on the totally opposite end of the spectrum,
Yeah.
we have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo.
Oh, I love that one.
This fantasy heist novel is pure escapism and adventure.
So fun.
I feel like for a first grader who's starting to get into chapter books, this could be a real page-turner.
Absolutely.
So we have a book tackling some serious social issues and then a high-flying fantasy adventure.
Yeah, what a range.
Do any of these overlap with the Search Synonym picks?
Not directly, no.
Okay.
But just because a book isn't on that specific list doesn't mean it's off limits for a first grader.
Right.
It all comes down to the individual kid, their maturity level, and what they're ready for.
Which leads to a bigger question. Yeah.
What makes a book truly good for a first grader?
That is the question.
Is it just about reading level, or is there more to it than that?
I think reading level is definitely important.
Yeah.
But it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
You want something engaging, something age appropriate in terms of content and length and visually appealing.
Right.
But there also needs to be that spark, that element that makes a kid want to hear it again and again.
That keeps them coming back.
Yeah. And we can't forget about the whole read-aloud experience itself.
Oh, for sure.
It's more than just the words on the page, right? It's about that connection, that bonding between the adult and the child.
It's creating those memories.
Exactly.
Building that association between books and feeling loved and safe.
It's so powerful.
No wonder so many of us have these vivid memories tied to stories from our childhood.
I bet you can still remember.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, picture yourself curled up with a favorite book as a kid. For sure.
Maybe someone's reading it to you. Maybe you're starting to read on your own. But it's that feeling that comes back.
It's more than just the words.
It really is.
And I think that's what's so valuable about these articles.
Yeah.
They're not just lists. They're jumping off points, you know?
They spark ideas.
Take these recommendations, explore them.
With the kids in your life.
See where it leads you.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Maybe you discover a new favorite author or a genre that the kid really clicks with. And it's a reminder that we don't have to limit ourselves to the traditional children's book section.
That's so true. What about those, you know, beautifully illustrated cookbooks?
Ooh, yeah.
I feel like that could really spark a love of cooking in a kid.
Absolutely.
Or what about like a nonfiction book about space?
Yeah.
You know?
Packed with photos.
Filled with amazing pictures.
It could spark a lifelong passion.
So many possibilities. And it's fascinating to me how these choices we make about what books to share, it's not just about entertainment.
That's so much more.
It can really have a ripple effect on a child's development.
Absolutely. We're talking about language skills, vocabulary.
Wow.
Empathy, emotional intelligence, sparking curiosity.
It's like planting seeds.
Exactly.
You never know which ones are going to take root and blossom.
You really don't.
Okay, so to recap our deep dive today,
Right.
we've looked at 2 great articles about books for first graders.
Yes.
Search Synonyms Top 10 gave us a list perfect for reading aloud with classics like Where the Wild Things Are and The Very Hungry Caterpillar.
Good picks.
And then the Barnes & Noble ebook list, which is a bit broader, offered some interesting options from their young adult section, like The Hate You Give, which deals with some really important social issues.
Yeah.
And Six of Crows, which is a pure escape into a fantasy world.
It's a fun one.
We also talked about what makes a book truly suitable for a first grader.
Wow.
Looking at reading level themes, length, the impact of illustrations.
Right.
And of course, we can't forget the importance of that shared reading experience.
That special connection.
That comes from an adult and child diving into a story together.
So important.
But here's the thing. We've just scratched the surface.
We really have.
There's a whole universe of children's literature out there.
A whole world to explore.
That we haven't even touched.
So much to discover.
I know, it's amazing. And for everyone listening out there, you know, as you're trying to find those perfect books for the first graders in your life, what other things might you consider?
That's a great question.
I mean, every kid is different.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Each kid has their own unique interests.
Maybe one kid's obsessed with dinosaurs.
Right.
And another one can't get enough of outer space.
For sure.
How do you factor those things in?
Well, I think that's a really important consideration. You want to choose books that align with their passions and make them excited to read.
Absolutely. And you know what else I think is so important?
What's that?
Thinking about what kind of world we're reflecting in the books they read.
Oh, that's huge.
Are the characters diverse?
Yeah.
Are there stories that they can really see themselves in?
That's so important for kids to feel seen and represented in the books they read.
Absolutely. It's about making sure every kid feels like their story matters.
Exactly.
Right from the start.
And you know what else can make a big difference?
What's that?
Letting the kid have a say.
Oh, yeah.
In the process.
Even some agency.
Take them to the library or bookstore. Let them browse.
Let them pick up whatever catches their eye.
Yeah, you might be surprised by what they choose.
It's like giving them that ownership.
Exactly.
Instead of it just being something that's given to them.
Right.
It could be the key to making them lifelong readers.
Couldn't agree more.
So at the end of the day,
Yeah.
this whole deep dive,
This whole conversation.
it's about giving you the tools to make good choices. About the books you share.
Right.
With the kids in your life.
And the kids you love.
Exactly. It's not about,
Yeah.
finding the one right book.
Right.
Or following some strict list.
Yeah.
It's about the journey, the exploration.
Exactly.
And having fun along the way.
The most important part.
So go forth.
Yes.
Rediscover the magic of children's literature.
I love it.
Who knows? Maybe you'll even rediscover some of your own old favorites along the way.
That happens all the time.
And hey, if you come across any hidden gems,
Yeah.
send them our way.
We're always looking for new recommendations.
We're always up for expanding our reading lists.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of books for first graders.
It's been a pleasure.